So the reason why I chose the language Tagalog is because my mom, she's born in Manila, Philippines, and my dad is born in Hong Kong, China. But I have more access to my mom, so I chose to do Tagalog because I know little about I know a little bit about her story, but not too much about her struggles coming to America and having to learn English. So through the interview, what I learned is that she moved here with just one of her sisters. She is the youngest sister, I believe, out of about 8 siblings who all grew up within the same area. When she first came to America, it was just her and one of her other sisters, and they worked at a church cleaning it. She said while she was there, she had struggles with making friends. She had because the language barrier, it was a little difficult for her to pick up. But she said once she got into college, it took her a little bit more adjusting, but within a short amount of time, she was able to start making friends because she was able to catch on to the English and also to the pace that her friends would speak at. Um, One interesting thing that I want to talk about is the families or the first generation born and raised in America, with a lot of uh, my own family as well as other families that I know throughout my church and throughout different friends that I've made throughout the years. What I've learned is that their parents don't speak to them in Tagalog. They don't teach them how to speak it or write it um, out of a fear, as in my case, out of a fear of um, us having difficulty learning and picking up on English. So, for a lot of first generation born and raised kids in America, the language of Tagalog is actually being lost. So, from this point forward, with a lot of my family, this is pretty much the end to us speaking in Tagalog. Um, so, with that being said, I want to talk a little bit about some of the research that I found and just how much of an impact English has had, and also the American culture has had on the Filipino culture out in the Philippines. So, according to what I found, there are currently 50 million speakers of Tagalog in the Philippines, and within the United States, Tagalog is the sixth most spoken language. So not only is there a predominant, or is Tagalog a predominant language in the Philippines, but it also is a predominant language in the United States. Um, I'll get into a little bit about that in a little bit later on, but what I want to speak about is this term that is being coined, which is a mixture of both English and Tagalog, and they actually call it Taglish. Makes sense, right? Taglish. So it's where the syntax of a sentence, well, let me find it. It is where the syntax of a sentence is still Tagalog. The grammatical rules are still Tagalog, but there is a difference through the use of English nouns and verbs. And I want to give you an example here. Of a combination of English and Tagalog combining to Daglish. So the example is maga drive, which translates over to will drive. So another or one of the reasons why there's such an American influence in the Philippines is because America pretty much colonized the Philippines. I have an exact date here. At the end of the 18th century and into the 19th century. And actually, a lot of schools are starting to teach English. Not starting to, they have been teaching English. And kids as early as 4 years old are learning English. Um, Another one of the nations, because the Philippines has pretty much been colonized by a whole bunch of nations in Asia, the Chinese, the Malaysians, and it's actually where the language of Tagalog actually stems from. Um, Let me talk about a little bit about that. So the word Tagalog comes from an Austronesian language where the word is Tagalog. I'm pretty sure I said that really bad. Tagalog means from the river. It originates from Sanskrit, and Tagalog was made the national language of the Philippines in 1935 under President Manuel L. Quezon. Yeah, that's that one. So the first known writing of Tagalog was known as Pagbabaybay, or Baybayin. So this form of writing also uses syllabication, and prior towards the Spanish colonizing the Philippines, it was or when the Spanish colonized the Philippines, the Spanish written language went from what it was through the ancient alphabet to then using the Roman alphabet. So to kind of conclude, so the Spanish have had a pretty big impact on the Filipino culture as well, and there's a lot of Filipino words that originate from Spanish words such as guapo. Guapo means good looking, and in my essay I actually talk a little bit about it, but I have actually a lot of exposure towards that word because pretty much growing up, all my aunties would call me guapo. All the people from my church, all the aunties from my church, the lolas, which is the grandmas, they would also call me guapo. So I'm pretty familiar with the word, I guess you could say. But it just shows that Spanish is also deeply ingrained into the Tagalog language. And I want to just finish by saying just the exposure, going back to the United States. Tagalog is the sixth most spoken language, and you can kind of see the Filipino influence in San Diego in parts such as Mira Mesa or National City, where there's groceries, there's Filipino restaurants, and there's just a large Filipino culture, and it's just really cool to see a lot of Filipinos who have migrated to the States from the Philippines coming together into centralized places in San Diego and forming communities that are tight-knit. Families are next to each other. Brothers and sisters live next to each other. Aunts, uncles, they all live within vicinity of each other so that they can visit. Just kind of going to the central theme of Filipino families, and that's just family. Family is highly up there when it comes to priorities, and taking care of the elders is just a big priority. So that is the end of my presentation, and I'd like to just thank you for this course. Bye.